Good morning folks, and welcome to today's vlog. It is a Saturday again, it is our vlog day. Today finds us back in Milton Keynes. You'll have to excuse the horsiness and maybe the sniffles. Rachel's laughing.
I've got
man flu. So we're doing today's vlog. I will try not to sniff too much or sneeze for you guys. We're at the back of a place called Linford Manor, and we're just going to sort of go in there through an unusual route. Unusual route. So basically we're on the old, I believe it's called the Nobby line. It was a old train line that went between Wolverton and Newport Pagnell. We're right above where one of the old stations is. I have vlogged the actual area itself in the past, but we're going to make our way down there, then towards a wooded area. I believe it's an old quarry, and then we're into the estate itself, and I've got a few stories on the way. So anyway guys, let's go and do this. We will start by getting down there. Yeah, not so much hidden in plain sight, but in Milton Keynes you've got this old train line, and all that's left, because now we have these red ways which are like cycle routes, cycle paths, etc., that go all around Milton Keynes, so people can get some exercise and go from one location to the other. But this is all that remains of the old, I say it's the Nobby line, I'm not sure, but it's the old Wolverton to Newport Pagnell line. And there's two old station platforms. This one at Gt Linford and the one at Bradwell are the only two remaining. And they've even got the old train station platform. I know it's more of a mock-up, more modern, but they've put these to define what the place is as a runner goes. Now apparently, when I done the walk the other day to the Devil's Bridge, I found a geocache. Now I believe I've now signed up to the geocache site. There is supposed to be a geocache around here. I'm not too bothered about it today, to be honest with you, but it's in the area, so if something catches me eye, then we'll have a general look. I think you need tweezers for this one to pull it out because it's small and hidden away. But there you go. But yeah, this is the old platform, no longer in existence. It's just quirky and it fits the channel quite perfectly. I believe the one, yeah, I would say more than believe it is true, the one at Bradwell is in better condition than this. For those of you interested in the history of the trains and the track, etc., it ran from, I believe it was 1866 to 1967, so 101 years in total. Used to carry passengers, then it went on to just being freight, and then it was just shut down. There is a heck of a lot of this limestone rock about, because an area that we will end up at is at the back of an old pre-Victorian, at least, quarry. I believe this era might go back way back beyond that to prehistoric times. They haven't excavated the whole area properly as yet, but they are certainly going to at some point. The area we're in now, with running streams and brooks along the side, is known as Black Horse Woods. It looks a bit sinister. There's nothing that I know of that's happened here, but it is a perfect place to turn around and tell the story of one of the rogues that used to frequent this area. This area was roamed by a character known as the Raffling Ginger. I'll describe him to you. He was about 5'6". He was blind in his left eye. He went by the name of George Brooks. He come from an area called, I think it's Gayton or Gaydon, around the North Hants area, and he was like a really bad highwayman, as bad a highwayman as Jack Sparrow is a pirate. Whatever he would try his luck at or try and steal, etc., it would go wrong. He would get caught many times. I think he would steal things from iron bars to clothing, etc. And I think he was like a navvy, worked along the canal area, but he was notorious in this area for stealing. He got his name as the Raffling Ginger. Raffling means to take, to steal, to offload, etc. That's the Raffling. And Ginger, obviously, goes without saying, he had ginger hair. But the story goes that he was caught and he was very close to getting deported to Australia. At that time, if you was a common sort of habitual criminal like he was, you would have, hanging wasn't so much preferent with those sort of crimes then, you'd be deported to Australia. And that's how the Australian, basically the backstory of them, a lot of them are English criminals, unfortunately. Generations have gone now and they're more of a sort of society that we are part of. But back then there was communities of basically enslaved people plus our old convicts that they used to just ship over there just to get them out of our way. And he was one of these guys, this Brooks, and he disappeared. Now we don't know whether he got deported himself or whether there is some sort of family history that says that he married someone and they ended up either emigrating to Canada or the United States. I like to think that possibly he did get away with a few things and did make his way to have a happy life, but unfortunately the way this character was, I believe he probably ended up either behind a noose or in Australia itself. But this is an area that he used to hang around. As I said, he used to steal inanimate objects, things that didn't mean much to the common man, but he would steal them, try and sell them and make his way in life. Apparently there's another geocache around this area. You have to look for a tree at a 45-degree angle, of which there are plenty. So it's like finding a piece of hay and a stack of needles. We just keep going on to our next destination. Not 100% sure, but I believe that is an old train marker. They turn around and say you're half a mile from the next platform. Similar to what you get when you go into London Euston, you turn around and say there's a bit that says you're a mile out. But it's just sitting there. Now that really is an unusual find. I'm probably totally wrong, but I'm just going to put it out there. You know, you see in these comedy movies, you get the two guys with like a rocking horse type thing, and they get the motion to get the thing going along the train tracks. I believe that's one of them, but it's just down the side of the verge here. That's got to be easily over 100 years old. Never expected to find anything like that just walking around, just at the side of the roadway. So if anyone has any ideas, let me know in the comments. But that certainly looks rail rather than road. To your right is the area that we just come to, or come from should I say. Left is obviously Bradville, that'd be your other station, but we're making our way down to the side towards Linford Manor. Just show you the side of the canal here. Direction I'm looking now, that will go on further up into Coventry and Birmingham after Northamptonshire. and that way through a series of locks through to Leighton Buzzard, and then on through to your Hemel, Berkhamsted, etc., and make your way down towards London. And I actually believe it comes out the back of Regent's Park. Good thing is they do have these signs popped up here and there. So what's called the Nobby line. You can see there in the bottom right hand corner, or top right hand corner even. There are plenty of these semi or circular stone areas about, and there's this whole area here that's a park that's been made up. Luckily enough there isn't a lot of kids playing around on it today, so I can enter it. But the reason why it's here is because this area that's surrounding us, this is an old prehistoric quarry. Now the quarry area would have been used pre-Victorian times to get your limestone, which would have helped to make your canal walls, bases, etc. Your Blisworth Tunnel, all would have come from areas like this. Said this is a predominantly, apart from the squirrels over the back there, a play area for the kids to go and have a bit of fun. Maybe sit around. It's quite peaceful. And as you see the way it's dug out of the back there, that just shows you the defineness of where the quarry would have sat, and all this would have been dug out from here. That not in a million years are they about to cut all these trees down and excavate it, but you can see here from the wall area some of the footings of where the quarry would have been. Now obviously there will be remnants of your dinosaurs in amongst all that. You know what, I've certainly never been here before. It's actually quite cool and quirky. Just sort of a half bowl shape embedded into the surrounding woods. And if you look for that little limestone brick play area, it's directly behind that, if you wanted to come and have a look. Now these are the sort of things I'm talking about. If you have a look at the rock here, they're called, is it ammonites? It's very similar to a squid, because the area we would have been pre-Jurassic, pre-Cretaceous, all that era should I say, we would have been the seabed. So you're predominantly going to get your small creatures down there under all the sea, and then your land mass probably would have been the likes of your Africa now. We're now into the back of the estate area. This is the church meadow, the church in the distance there. And we have, this estate's got some peculiar things, but we've got what, like wooden seed pods, etc., ferns. The other side, there's actually wooden sheep. Quite difficult to maintain, I guess, but luckily enough they have not been graffitied up. Really struggling today, guys, with the cold, but giving it the best I can, so stick with us. Yeah, it's a snake, wooden carved snake, probably depicting the UK's most dangerous snake, which would be the adder, which they would be around in the area, but you ain't going to find them this time of year. They'd be well burrowed below ground. To some people it'd just be like a very bad bee or hornet sting. Others can have anaphylactic shock, etc., and then you can get some real problems. you're looking at what used to be old cottages, old schoolhouses. Now just sort of covered over and left as a relic. To the right of me we have the church. Don't know of anybody notable that is buried in there, but there is a story of someone notable, not a household name, certainly that's for sure. Not many people would know of a person, just an average Joe public who was not allowed to be buried in there. And I should tell you his story. The story of those not permitted within these walls. Okay, behind me you have the Church of St Andrews. Now there's a story of a guy, his name was Daniel Haynes. I'm not sure, I think it was around 1804 I believe. January the 25th 1804. Daniel Haynes appeared to be of good character, in good spirits. He was singing, going about his daily job. He worked with a local landowner. He was like a stable lad come, let me say like lumberjack, because he was moving logs around with the horses from the wooded areas behind you. Pretty jovial kind of day for him. No one thought anything untoward until later that day they found him hanging by his neck from a beam. He had killed himself, and nobody knows the reason, or whether he'd actually killed himself or someone else had done a heinous act, should we say. Now in them times inquests would happen a lot quicker because the population was not as vast, so they had an inquest in the Nag's Head, which is a public house to my left, approximately about 600 to 700 meters away from here. The inquest, after investigation, found him to be felo de se, which is an old archaic term that he took his own life. And with that being said, there is a ruling that if you take your life, in the eyes of God, I believe it is at that time, you could not be buried in consecrated ground, such as the Church of St Andrews behind me. So poor Daniel Haynes was not buried in a church, he wasn't even buried in the grounds. What they done, they buried him in the road. So I don't know whether time has passed and he has been dug up and moved to somewhere, or whether somewhere around this estate or the road itself that goes along, it's called High Street, that goes along past the Nag's Head, whether poor old Daniel Haynes himself is buried in that road. So I could guess, you could say, if there were to be any apparitions, any ghostly activity that would be from this general area, it would be from poor Daniel Haynes himself, because his soul never got to rest. Interesting story. I found a lot of these through looking up facts and history around the manor itself. And the manor itself I will talk about shortly, about its present owner and one of its original owners, who actually built the land, or should I say, I purchased the land from a family called the Napier family and built the manor house upon it. That old lamp's certainly from a bygone era, that's for sure. This here directly in front of me is the Linford Manor House. It has a significant owner nowadays. The owner nowadays is one Pete Winkleman, and Pete Winkleman was born and raised, brought up in the area of Wolverhampton. He was he went on to be a property developer. He was a football fan of Wolverhampton Wanderers. Now somewhere down the line he's got linked up with the old crazy gang, the old original Wimbledon FC of Plough Lane. I think at the time they'd fallen into bad times, they were really struggling. He come in and purchased them, and the rest is history, so to say, with that, because Wimbledon become After a lot of controversy, they made their way up to Milton Keynes and ended up being what is now known as, well, we call them Franchise FC, but MK Dons. They've been at home, the Stadium MK, for, oh, God knows how many years. Originally they were up by the city centre, by the train station, but they're now at Stadium MK next to Asda and IKEA, if anyone knows the area. And your chairman, if you support that club, lives there. Now, he purchased it, I don't know how many years ago, but I know a story of one of the original owners, the original person who bought the property and built on the land from the Napier family. His name was William Pritchard. Now, William Pritchard was a politician. I'm not sure what party he was, but he was the Lord Mayor of London at one point. Now, unfortunately, he was a slave trader. That's how he made his money. He worked for the Royal Africa Company, enslaving people and making his money that way. And he has a museum himself. If anyone knows the area Olney, where the famous pancake race comes from, he is a co-inhabitant of that. His story is in there, and that is Olney, and that is on your way to Wellingborough. If you intend visiting the estate, there is an area there where you can do fine arts, pottery, painting, etc. To the left, you can see the green area. Turn around and says it's an art centre, but there is also a small cafeteria in there. We have purchased a coffee. We got a takeout, so you took the takeout cup with you, which cost us an extra 50p. So that was £2 the takeout, a coffee, or £1.50 the drink inside. It has gents and ladies toilets in there as well, and there is free parking. So it's an extra reason to come and visit this location. It has a heck of a lot of history, and we ain't quite finished yet. Love the way this tree is hollowed out and formed the shape of a heart. There could be a geocache in there. Looking at that and the way that the wood's formed, it looks as if it's been struck by lightning and burnt. Once again, very informative and depicted with plaques of what the place would have looked like, the local history, what is here, how it was formed, the type of meteorology, your stoneworks, etc. And they are doing a heck of a lot of work here. They're always doing something to cut down an area, build up, dig, find out what is hidden beneath. It really is fascinating. Now, has anyone ever heard of the term Doric? Doric is a yesteryear, it's like should we say a summer house. They would have been very ornate. They took a lot of their structure and sculptural areas from your likes of Rome and Athens with your pillars, etc. And there used to be one that sat here. It got vandalised in the 80s, become derelict. Before then, for a period of time, cows would take refuge from bad weather in the area and congregate underneath it. As I said, it was like a some house come temple. So we had the pillars, a seating area in there. Ladies would come down in their finery with their brollies, sit there, give an afternoon tea, etc. And what they've done is they've actually dug back, gone down to the layers, found the original earthworks and the original concrete structure. That's what's left of it. Nothing can be really retained, so they've got the general ground area. They've put on a couple of pillars, and cleverly they've put a little bit of glass that you can look through, and as you look at it, it draws an outline of what it would have looked like. So let's go and have a look at that. There you go, I said about the cows taking refuge from bad weather, but that's what it would have looked like many years back. And it would have sat here in a wooded area, overgrown and just left to decay for many, possibly hundreds of years. And now, as I said, they've reformed it. None of this path area would have been original, it would have been recreated over the top. And this is the size of your structure. This is only at ground level, not very big at all. your seat would have probably been around this area here, and it would have looked out with a grand view over there. Obviously your canal boat would not have been there at the time, but it would have looked out. Them tree line probably wasn't there. Them trees, it probably would have taken them best part of 70-80 years to grow up, so they wouldn't have been there. That would have been all open, maybe trees to the side either way. These are the reconstructed pillars that they've made to adorn where the area would have been. And I said, what is clever is what they've done over there. So let's go and have a look at that. Someone has kind of etched stroke painted on glass an image that overlaps what it would have looked like. I don't know whether you can pick that up. I don't know whether I can actually get it in line, to be honest with you, but that's what your Doric would have looked like. And I think that's a fantastic effort to bring something to life that has been long redundant. We've now come up to the veteran lime tree. It's believed to be one of the oldest trees certainly in Milton Keynes, if not Buckinghamshire for sure. Let's go and have a look at it. There's a little bridge that goes by the side of it, so we'll make our way back down here. And you go along the side of what would have been an old towpath many years ago. And this tree that looks very spiderish is a lime tree. Whether it's lime as in the fruit, I'm not sure, but that's what they call it. Now the reason why it's like that, all the roots come out, is because over the years they would have trimmed it, and that is a good between, I'd say now, probably 450 years to 500 years old. The technique in pruning the tree, the person who would have done it would have been called a pollard. I sort of wonder whether that's got anything to do with the company name, the Pollard, or Pollards, that was in Fenny Stratford. Quite quirky, but it's great that they've put significance on it to look after it for future generations. I do love the fact that you've got a duck to get under the tree as you go through the bridge. That is pretty cool. What is lovely about this area, as I'm going up to these shoe horses over here, is it's all bark and it's all soft. So you've got that like playground bounciness under your feet. I honestly have no idea. I think I've been through this area before, but I have no idea why these horseshoes are here. Are they to turn around and describe that maybe this area would have had stables possibly, or maybe they would keep horses here? But one thing for sure, when you've got what could be a lucky horseshoe, it'd be rude not to walk through it. And of course it's lucky, but it's unlucky if you hit your head on the way through. So we didn't do that. And over there is also something strange. Don't know the reason behind them. I don't know whether it's something they just come up with the idea because Milton Keynes has concrete cows, that someone turned around and said, you know what, let's put some wooden sheep in. I don't know how long they've been here. They just seem to crop up in pictures whenever I used to look at places, and I thought, well, what are they all about? So I come and see them, and there's no plaque around them, similar to the horseshoes behind us that depicts a reason for them being there. Whether these will one day be as famous as the concrete cows, I don't know. They are just cool, quirky little carvings. But I have seen a little plaque on the back of one, so I'm going to go and have a read of that. Okay, nothing to depict the reason why they're here. There's something to think about for sure. And let's let them be. I just glanced off as I was walking back around this area and noticed this area here and wondered why it was like that. I've just seen a sign. I'll show you what this is. This used to be an old well. So under there, that probably goes down pretty deep. But they've covered it over, and I'd imagine at some point they will do something to have water in the area again. But yeah, another fascinating find. Okay, so it's called the Ha-Ha. Never heard of one, to be honest with you. But it was a sunken well. Pretty interesting. That is your Nag's Head, where the inquest to where Daniel Haynes would have committed suicide would have taken place in January of 1804, I believe. And this is the road that I believe that he was then ordered or told to be buried in. So whether he remains here or not is another matter. We are going to leave you with another quirky find. Now, if you remember the vlog I done 2 weddings, a ghost and a triceratops, we found a disused bus shelter that had been turned into a library. Now we can go one better and find a phone booth that's had the same done to that. There you go, take your pick. I just find these things really, really cool. Okay guys, that's going to be it for today. I hope you found it informative, possibly enjoyable. Sorry if I'm a bit horsey, a bit sort of, because I've got what?
Man flu.
Because I've got man flu. It happens to us all. It's a real suffering thing that only a man would ever know.
It's more suffering for the woman than it is for the man.
Well, yeah, there you go. Anyway guys, thank you so much for watching and the recent vlogs I've been doing. I really appreciate the following. I'm slowly starting to get. I will continue doing these. This was on our doorstep, always cost us a bit of fuel. There's no fee for parking. We had a Costa beforehand. What are we doing now? Go for another Costa. But yeah, it's free, it's on your doorstep. It's quite enjoyable to see what's actually out there, if that's in your nature to find. I was quite shocked with that old like railway type thing that you used to pump to go along, that found down the side of the track. But yeah, really appreciate your time in watching this. Thank you so much. Enjoy the rest of your weekend. We will see you in the movies. Bye for now. Bye.